Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now our first story comes from a throwaway account and is titled, I, 23 male, broke up with my girlfriend, 21 female, of 3 years because she wanted to remain a virgin. Now she wants to get back together but told me she had sex with someone else when we were broken up. How should I proceed? I, 23 male, met my ex, 21 female, 3 years ago. We lived on campus at uni in different halls of residence. After a few months we got together and for the most part had a very happy relationship. There was always one issue though. My ex grew up in a very religious home. Her father is a pastor. She has been open with her family that she does not share their faith. They weren't happy about it but accepted that she has to make her own choices on that. Nevertheless, I think some of that religious upbringing was still in her mind. I grew up in a different religion but was never very serious about it and am no longer religious. Our relationship was pretty normal except that she told me very early that she was a virgin and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons. As I mentioned, she isn't religious, but she was very focused on not disappointing her dad. We did other sexual things, just not intercourse. I never had much luck with girls growing up, and going into the relationship, I was a virgin. And I still am. At least if you classify being a virgin as never had intercourse. Anyway, I was becoming more resentful of the fact that everyone I know was having normal sexual relationships and we weren't. I couldn't understand why she didn't want to have a full sexual relationship. Though of course I never pressured her about it. I felt that while I was at uni and pretty broke, getting married was something for the future. Last year I was in my last year of uni and she was working in her first professional job. Her degree was shorter than mine, so she finished uni first despite being younger than me. She was still talking a lot about all these successful guys she met at work, which did make me feel lesser as I was still a broke uni student. Coupled with her not wanting a full sexual relationship, it did make me feel more resentful. We had some arguments about it and after a while I felt I should end the relationship as we wanted different things and our lives were on different paths. It was awful. She was crying a lot and I felt terrible afterwards. Anyway, it's been nearly 6 months since we broke up. We haven't been in touch at all for almost all that time. I have not been involved with anyone else in that time, as I was 100% focused on finishing my degree. I finally finished uni and I'm about to start my first professional job. She recently got in touch again and asked to meet up. I was hesitant but decided we had so much good history that I should hear her out. She told me she's been missing me terribly these past 6 months, as she thinks she wants to get back together and is open to having a sexual relationship now. I asked her, why now? What changed? And she looked uncomfortable. After a little prying, she said she had a short-term fling with one of the older guys at work while we were broken up, which of course was fine as she wasn't my girlfriend anymore. Anyway, she said he persisted with her until she started having sex with him. She ended it with him recently. She was clear that it was consensual, but that the guy was very persistent with pursuing sex with her. I was gutted. Couldn't understand why she'd make me wait all those years, but was fine doing it with some new guy she'd only been seeing a short time. I asked if the reason she was open to having a sexual relationship now was because she wasn't a virgin anymore. She said yes. I asked her to give me some space to process all this. I'm conflicted and would love some advice on this. I've missed her a lot and still have strong feelings for her, but at the same time it feels like I was strung along for years. It's hard to put my finger on why I don't want to take her back. Everything logically makes sense for us to get back together. I'd even get to finally have a sexual relationship with her. I feel awful about this whole thing and don't want to ignore those feelings. And there was many comments on the back of this one just saying, move on, you're not compatible. Other people saying you got strung along for long enough, move on, etc. But Abstract Teapot says it makes sense. She had a weird thing about sex due to religious upbringing. You broke up. In the back of her head, it's because she wasn't ready to have sex. The next relationship, the guy was pushy, and she realized if she didn't want a repeat of what happened, she'd have to give in and have sex. They broke up. She wants to see if the fact that she can have sex changes things now. You don't have to accept it, and you shouldn't if you feel resentful or like you're a backup option, because it wouldn't be fair to either of you. I think you need to figure out if you're happy closing this chapter to move on. When you close it, do it properly. Opie added their own comment below the post and said some of the comments are being very harsh on my ex, and I guess that's not surprising. You don't know her. She's not some evil, manipulative villain at all. I would never have been with anyone like that. She's still the funny, smart, charming, beautiful girl I always knew. Any guy would be lucky to have her. I would be too. If I could handle the baggage here, but I'm thinking I probably can't, and a clean break is the way to go. Though she may regret the relationship with the other man, it's not my business, as she was a single woman and we were broken up. I wasn't ever expecting to hear from her again, really. This whole situation is very surprising to me. I'm feeling hurt because I guess this is a solid blow to my ego. I feel like the lesser man here. I can own that, and that's something for me to work on. Ultimately, I have some hang-ups about sex from this relationship that I need to deal with. A few people have suggested I could benefit from therapy. I'm going to look into that. I think I need help to process all these emotions on the situation. And Jinboy32 asked Opie a question. They said, I would ask her why she was willing to sleep with a guy after such a short relationship, but after 3 years, she was not willing to sleep with you. Opie says, I think this is the right question, because I don't know why. She didn't say. All she said was that the guy was persistent. I'm torn about whether to simply text her that I don't want to rekindle things and leave it all in the past, or whether I should ask more questions about what happened, because this hurts. I don't know if I'm ready to get details of a relationship with the other guy. Sometimes I just feel like I'm stunted in some way. A few comments have said I'm immature, and they're probably right. I know I'm the one who ended the relationship and that she's entitled to do what she wants with anyone else. Still doesn't make it hurt any less, and maybe it's just best to say goodbye and leave all this in the past. So Opie comes in with an update and says this is an update to my last post. Hello again, and I appreciate the people taking time to comment on my last post. The response was a lot, more than I expected, with over 2,000 comments. I'm amazed so many people wanted to comment about my situation. Thank you. Warning, this is a long post. I've kept the daily journal since I was 16. A lot of what follows is dumps from my journal. Yes, I know I'm not concise. I'm going to refer to my ex as Ellie, not her real name. I'd like to write a bit about the comments because so many people took the time to provide their thoughts, and I appreciate that. The majority of the comments were some variation of move on, a clean break, a strong recommendation with a lot to recommend it. A minority said, give her a chance and see how it goes. Plenty calling me an asshole for ending it because I wanted sex in our relationship, or for being obsessed with her virginity. That's I dumped her because she wouldn't put out. And quite a few saying my breakup with her made her feel like sex is necessary to keep a guy, and that it drove her heartbroken into the next guy's bed. There were a few she's pregnant comments. Not that I know of. It's not impossible, but if that happens it won't be anything to do with me. The dude saying I should fuck her and leave her, or worse. Seriously, some of you guys need a hug, or a psychologist. No, I would never use her like that, no matter our past. Ellie and I were a loving couple for years. That counts for something, even after we broke up. Feeling hurt doesn't justify using her, or anyone else for that matter. As for the comments, I have some hang-ups about taking her virginity. My issue when together was that we weren't having sex in our relationship. Not whether she was a virgin or not. Her being a virgin was her reason for being abstinent, but wasn't directly an issue either way to me. If she hadn't been a virgin and wanted to be abstinent, I would have been in the same situation. The title of my last post was not great really. I broke up because we were not having sex, not because she was a virgin. Bear in mind, for 3 years, Ellie had everything she wanted from our relationship. Boyfriend, love, affection, loyalty, support, and a guy who respected her wishes to be abstinent. While she got 100% of what she wanted, for me, there was a big element missing, and there was no way to reconcile that. Either we were having sex or not having it. Sex requires both to say yes, and that wasn't going to happen. With hindsight, I should have ended the relationship early on. When Ellie first told me she wanted to not have sex until marriage. When we got together, I was a naive 19-year-old who had never had a girlfriend before. So I kind of went along with things because I really liked her and got along with her so well. I fell in love with her and then kind of felt stuck in a relationship that wasn't what I wanted. I've learned from this and won't make that mistake in the future. I want to make active, not passive choices in future relationships. To not just go along with things because that's what the other person wants. Our views about sex in our relationship were not compatible, so I ended the relationship rather than waiting any longer hoping she'd change her mind. It was scary to take that step and I put it off for way too long because I didn't want to hurt her. But I couldn't stay in the relationship just for her. I had to also consider myself too. My mistake was waiting so long to get to that point. I regret that as it caused her more hurt than if I'd ended it early on. Many of you say that sex just isn't that important, but for me, it is, at least as part of a relationship. You can disagree, that's fine. Some people are fine being in no-sex relationships, no judgment from me, but that's not what I want. Some people took issue with me saying I felt she strung me along. On reflection, that's fair. Ellie was clear to me about not wanting to have sex until marriage. I foolishly stayed way too long hoping she'd change her mind one day. She didn't. That was my mistake. I strung myself along really. She never led me on in any way. It hurt to learn that she had sex with the next guy relatively quickly after I waited so long. But she is my ex, so that is not my business anymore. She's allowed to change her mind. She can have sex or not with whoever she chooses. I don't get a say in that. My hurt is an emotional response, not a logical one. Logically, I see she did nothing wrong by me. I'll get over it. It's just my bruised ego if I'm honest with myself. Feeling I'm somehow a lesser man because she took that step with the next guy. I know objectively that isn't true, but I sure feel it. I was not a perfect boyfriend and I have made mistakes. I've learned from them. I don't regret breaking up with Ellie and still think it was the right decision for me. Enough background. A few things have happened. Last weekend was the Australia Day long weekend. I was on a camping trip in the Grampians for any Aussies reading, and it was so nice to be in nature, to do some bushwalks with friends and decompress. It felt good to talk about the Ellie situation with my mates around the campfire. Most of them knew Ellie pretty well from our years together, and they had a range of views, just like commenters on my post. And I got the usual good-natured shit about still being a virgin. I learned there's an expensive bottle of scotch they bought a while ago that's going to have its seal cracked when mine is bastards. Lol. One great question a friend asked was whether I would have ever decided to reach out and take Ellie back if she never reached out to me first. The answer is no. It was so obvious to me. That cut through a lot of the confusion for me. I was being too passive in the situation and needed to do what I wanted, not just react to what Ellie wanted. By the time I was on my way home, I decided to not get back together with her, but that was moot. When I was driving home and got a mobile signal again, no mobile network where we had camped, the network delivered a bunch of messages from Ellie all at once. She said she was wrong to ask me to get back together, and that she's back with Tim, fake name, now. She also texts that the thing with Tim is more serious than she told me when she last met with me. She apologized for misleading me about her and Tim's relationship. If you remember, she called it a fling before. She asked if we could meet to talk about it. I was not happy, so I just text back no. Not very mature of me, but I wasn't in the mood to hear more about all this, and I was surprised and pissed off that she lied to me. That seemed very out of character for her. She tried calling me, but I didn't want to answer. She sent another text saying, Tim and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you, and finally, I'm sorry. When I got home, I was an idiot and let my curiosity get the better of me. I looked up Tim online. His real given name is uncommon, so it wasn't hard to find. Found him on LinkedIn, which gave me his full name. Ellie is one of his connections, and he works at the same firm, so I was confident it is him. He's a director at their firm, one level below partner. He also has pics on Insta. Lots of posts about his adventures around the world at various events and exotic places, as well as shots with an expensive looking car. A few photos of him with Ellie with their arms around each other in Singapore in November. I guess that confirms it was serious. He wouldn't have public pics with her for a casual fling. All that just made me feel bad. No good comes from comparing myself to my ex's successful boyfriend. Ellie is not my girlfriend, and I'm not in competition with Tim, so I won't do that again. My ego's bruised enough already. I've been living a very frugal life my whole time at uni, aka poor as fuck. So I know I can feel inferior when I see people with wealth. That's another me problem to sort out. Anyway, all that was on Sunday afternoon/evening. On Tuesday evening, Ellie knocked at my door. She said that she knows I didn't want to talk to her, but she felt bad about everything and hoped that I would let her explain herself, clear the air. Then I'd never see her again if that's what I wanted. I let her in. I was not happy with recent events, but figured I might at least get a clearer idea of what's going on. It was a long, heavy conversation, over 4 hours, but here's the gist as I remember it. When we broke up, she was devastated. She said it took a couple of months before she started to feel a bit better. She missed me constantly and wanted to see me the whole time, but when I ended it, we agreed to keep apart and heal. In September, she met Tim at work. He manages a different team. She doesn't work for him. She said he was very charming and attractive and showed almost immediate interest in her. They got to know each other and he asked her out. She was worried it was a rebound, but felt so much better getting his attention as she went along with it. After dating for a while, she developed feelings for him, and that later led to a sexual relationship. It wasn't a fling, and she dated him for a while beforehand. I asked about whether he pressured her into sex. Last time she said he was very persistent. She said she was trying not to upset me. She thought if she gave the impression she was reluctant to have sex with Tim, that I wouldn't think badly of her. So it was a story to try and spare my feelings. I told her it just made me worried that she'd been assaulted. She looked shocked at that and said no way. He was actually the one who initiated their sexual relationship. I said although I don't like that she lied to me, I can understand why. I don't think she did anything wrong changing her mind about abstinence. Yes, I was hurt when she told me she was having sex, but I have no right to judge her for anything. She's a single adult and it's her life. I don't think badly of her. She burst into tears and said something like, "I thought you must hate me now." I assured her that I didn't. She said she was sad it didn't work for us, but that she never would have dropped her virginity commitment if we had not broken up. After we broke up, she decided that it was a commitment she made to her dad when she was still a kid, and it was messing with the life she wants now. So by the time she and Tim got into their relationship, she'd already decided that she was ready for sex with the right person. I asked about her dad and she just said he doesn't need to know. I asked about why she asked to get back together. Tim is older. She told me he's 32 and has been at the firm for 10 years. One day at work, one of the women made a snarky comment to Ellie about being another one of Tim's girls. She did some digging and it turns out Tim has a history. He has dated a long list of women from work. Several of them were young graduate employees, just like Ellie. The rumor around the office is that Ellie is just the next girl to be used by him. She was horrified. She accused Tim of using her. They argued and she told him it was over. Soon after that, she came to me. She felt as if we might be able to rekindle things now that she was open to a sexual relationship. But my hesitation and time to calm down made her realize that was a mistake. Over the weekend, Tim asked her to work things out. She decided to give it a chance. She tried to call me, but they went to voicemail. I was camping, so she sent those messages instead. So I guess that's settled. I don't want her back and she's in a relationship, so she doesn't want me back either. We chatted a bit about how our families are going. She congratulated me on finally finishing uni. She asked if I'd been seeing anyone, and when I told her I'd been studying hard and working a lot since exams, retail job, with no time for girls, she laughed and said I'm still a big nerd. She hoped we could be friendly if we ever see each other, but she wants to keep out of contact out of respect for a relationship with Tim. She wants to give it a real chance of working, which is fair enough. She gave me a hug, said thank you for understanding, and left. So there you have it. Ellie involved me in a relationship drama. Would have preferred she hadn't, but at least it's sorted now. I'm glad I paid attention to my feelings and took time out to consider things, as it could have been very messy if I had taken her back. Trusting my gut has been the biggest lesson for me in all of this. I still care for her despite recent events. It seems like she is dealing with a lot of complicated things between her new relationship and work gossip. I wish her well and hope she'll be happy, whether it's with Tim or not. She was my first love, and I expect I'll always have warm memories of her. I'm clear now that I don't want her back. She is in my past and I want to look forward. Well, this has become an essay. Tutors at uni always told me I was too waffly in my writing. Nice. Well, fuck those guys. I'm not a student anymore. I can now focus on launching my new career with no distractions. I've worked so hard for so long to get here. My new job starts on Monday. It's going to be great. It's going to be so great building actual real experience in my new profession. Not just endless theory. I'll be earning much better money. No more student poverty, and I've got graduation in May to look forward to as well. I'm open to finding someone new, but that is way down my priority list. I'm not going to actively pursue that anytime soon. Cheers everyone for your comments and advice. Edit the next day. Okay, you've convinced me. Today I blocked Ellie on everything, since we agreed not to be in touch again. That shouldn't matter, but if she doesn't stick to that agreement, e.g. if she and Tim split and fight again, then it won't be easy for her to contact me again. I thought it was a petty thing to block someone, but in this case, you've convinced me that it's a way to take control of the situation. With luck, I won't hear from her again, and if I do, like if she knocks on the door, I'll remind her of the agreement and shut her off. Time to stop being passive and take charge of my life. A life Ellie will not be a part of. So a commenter says to OP on that one, saying, glad you came to the conclusion best for you. However, I feel you gave Ellie too much of what she wanted to feel better about herself at the expense of your own emotional well-being. OP says I was already pretty churned up about things from when she first asked to get back together. I wish she hadn't done that, but after she came to see me on Tuesday, it was easier for me. We got to mutually say no to a future together and also put a lot of baggage in the bin. Is Ellie going to be happy? I don't know. I hope so, but I have my doubts about this Tim dude. But you probably can't trust my judgment on that. More relevant to me is whether I'm going to be happy. And the answer is fuck yes, because I'm going to make that happen. OP adds a comment on Ellie changing. OP says, I came to terms with our relationship months ago. When she came back to me, it stirred up some old feelings because we'd been a couple so long. But thinking about it now, that was more of an echo of those memories than real feelings. All of this drama was Ellie's doing. I would have preferred she never involved me so I could have been blissfully ignorant of her romantic life. I prefer not to know about her worldly rich boyfriend or their sex life. She's definitely changed. The Ellie I remember was scrupulous and honest to a fault. The Ellie I have dealt with recently wasn't like that so much. I think that's why her lying to me pissed me off so much. It wasn't just the lying, it was how out of character it seemed. But people change. She's in the business world now and people there live by different standards to the religious family she grew up in. Anyway, I've cut myself out of her life, so anything that happens with her is hers to deal with. If she comes back to me, I'll remind her we agreed to stay apart and leave it there. I'm not looking for another relationship right now, so no Tinder for me. And no, I'm not looking for casual sex either. I'm a virgin, but I want a meaningful connection, not just sex. As I said in the post, I'm open to something if the right woman came along, but I'm not actively seeking it. That might change after a while, but right now, I want to keep focused on my new career. And a comment from OP on them having closure, and they said, a lot of the comments here act like the final meeting was all for her benefit. Sure, she got some kind of relief or closure out of it, but it was also good for me. Seeing who she is becoming just made it 100% no doubt in my mind that we wouldn't ever make sense. She's changed a lot in the last year, starting when we were still together and she had started her job. Random phrases like work hard, play hard, being generally less kind and more dismissive of others. Clearly, she was being influenced by those around her, but it was her choice to take on those behaviors. I loved the old Ellie, but I'm not sure I even like the current one much. Anyway, I didn't feel like she intruded. I felt like I got a nice, neat ending to the whole thing and can get on with my life with a clear conscience. But we're clear now that it's over forever, and I have a promise that she will stay out of contact. If she ever does try to come back, I can remind her of her own promise and close the door. This post also made it to the best of Redditor updates subreddit, and OP responded in there and said, "Hi, this was me. Thanks for the comments, and I'll agree with the doormat ones, but I'm learning. We all have our flaws to fix. My job started this week. It's kind of overwhelming and my brain feels full every day. Feels like I've met 50 plus people already, and there are plenty more in the company. I can officially say I'm an engineer now, and not just an engineering student, which feels great to say to myself." Radio silence from Ellie. Since she's blocked, that shouldn't change. I also took advice from a few commenters and asked my friends to not pass any messages if she tries to use them to do that. And, I personally love when people express all their feelings in a mature way like OP did in this situation. I think what they did is totally the right thing to do. Totally separate themselves from the situation. Even after the first post, I was like, yeah, I think, restarting that relationship on the back of what has happened and going into it with these feelings would never be a healthy thing to do. But then everything else that happened afterwards, and it just got totally messy, it just cemented that for me. Some of the other comments had me thinking from sort of Ellie's point of view without OP, and thinking about her background and potential religious trauma around sex and stuff like that, and then meeting this guy and the whole power imbalance of his job and age and things like that, him being in a higher position than her and him already having this bit of a reputation already. And again, that's not OP's problem either, but it did have me thinking down that path as well. And I think OP was right to be blocking because I have to say it doesn't feel like the way that it was talked about in the story that relationship with Tim is going to last too long. It may do, I don't know, but if it does break up, is Ellie again going to turn around to OP and start messaging him and saying, "Oh, can we meet up, rebounding or something?" Of course, that's all speculation, but there's a potential for it to happen, right? But anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. You just don't, still